All right, what is Georgia's biggest weakness so far in the 2022 season? Obviously, there weren't that many flaws on the 2021 team that went on to win it all and win the national championship. And Georgia's obviously been dominating their opponents, whether you agree they've dominated everybody or not. They've, for the most part, dominated all four teams they've played. But where could they be playing better? There's a couple spots. One I want to highlight is the defensive line, and the defensive line to me has been the biggest drop off in play. Maybe outside the running backs, but they're using the running backs a little bit differently, and I talked about that in the video yesterday. I discussed the running back situation for Georgia. When it comes to this defensive line, the talent level they lost was significant. Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and not Jalen Carter, and Trayvon Walker, the first overall pick. Trayvon, Devontae, and Jordan, that's a big deal losing those guys, all right? All three of them were first-round picks. Obviously, you had three linebackers get drafted in Channing Tindall, Nakobe Dean, and Quay Walker, but those defensive linemen have seemed to be the players that they're missing a little bit more than those linebackers. The linebackers, I think, have stepped up in a good way so far for Georgia. They still have some areas to improve, but Georgia's defensive line, they're getting some pressure, and some of that's on the outside linebackers, but not many sacks. You're not getting. I'm looking at the exact number of sacks, but what they had to replace last year in Devontae Wyatt, the 7th leading tackler, Jordan Davis, the 15th leading tackler, and Trayvon Walker, who was the 13th leading tackler. But listen, a few sacks between the three of them, 6, 2.5. Jordan Davis 2. Obviously, Jordan Davis was the leadership in that locker room. The impact that those guys made was beyond just the numbers. And that is the same sentiment with some of these guys. Micah Williams, as a true freshman, has done a good job. Jalen Carter hasn't been out there a lot due to some nagging injuries. Hope to see him out there a little bit more against Missouri. But guys like Tramel Wathauer, guys like Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, they just haven't played that much football at the SEC level. That's the problem, is the lack of experience. Trayvon, Jordan, and Devontae went into last year with a lot of playing time for the 2 or 3 years prior to the 2021 season. And so that's the complete opposite in the current defensive line for Georgia. And that's what I think is their weakest point right now. Make sure you're checking out DAWGSTRUCTION. Our link down below is for that. That is the 2021 National Championship Insider book for you. It's a great gift, and it's a great coffee table item. Ryan Curley from DawgSTRUCTION here talking about Georgia's defensive line. Now, I'm a fan of Micah Williams. I think he's really good. I think he's really talented. But his talent alone isn't the only thing. Jalen Carter, you got to get him healthy. But if you just, if you go through and look at numbers, the first defensive lineman on the list as far as tackles go is Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, 5. And he has kind of been a reserve. I mean, Micah Williams has been out there what seems to me to be a little bit more than him. Michael Williams also has 5. Nazir Stackhouse, Zion Logue, Jalen Carter, they statistically haven't made a huge impact. Now, their impact goes beyond statistics. It goes, are you stuffing the run? Are you closing those gaps for the running backs? Are you getting a little bit of pressure on the quarterback? They have done those things. I just don't think that those things are being done as well as last year's group did it, but that is obviously a tall task to ask. Guys that really just haven't played that much, and one of the main guys in that rotation is a true freshman. So, I understand the drop-off. Older guys, Warren Brinson, Tramel Wathauer, Bill Norton getting in there. Bear Alexander is a name that you heard a couple times on Saturday against Kent State. That's a true freshman defensive lineman that had his best week of practice last week, and that is part of why he got significant snaps. You saw him make a tackle for loss. You saw him get into the backfield a couple of times. Bear Alexander is a guy that was very much hyped up in the recruiting process, and a guy that I think will continue to get some important snaps out there. But the core of it all is Jalen Carter. Will he be healthy? Didn't really play against Kent State. He's been dealing with this injury since Oregon. And I don't think it's a significant injury. I think it's just been a nagging one. He is available to play. He was available to play last week. I don't recall seeing him on the field. Someone told me they saw him for a couple snaps. I must have missed that. But he is the superstar, right? He's the one of the best players in college football, a guy that we think is likely going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft in a few months. So his health is very important. But this Georgia defensive line, not quite where last year's was. I think so far that's been the biggest drop off. Now, I don't think there's necessarily any weak units for Georgia, right? It's a phenomenal football team. It's currently the number one team in the country, and they have superstars all over the field. But if you had to ask me right now, where's the gap at? It's at the defensive line for Georgia. Make sure you're going to the site dawgpost.com. Make sure you're checking all of our links at DawgPost. Make sure you look at DAWGSTRUCTION. I'll see you there.